Some awesome moments on AEW this week. We now know the finalist for the King and Queen of the Ring tournaments. Gunther starting a face turn, and it's 2011 all over again, as a feud between CM Punk and John Cena has us all talking about the pipe bomb. I'm Kurt for Talks with Dorks, and this is the Wrestling Roundup. So, let's start off with the most recent news and this week's episode of Monday Night Raw. An episode that will no doubt go down in the history books as happened on the 23rd of June. Look, it was a relatively by-the-numbers episode of Raw, with, admittedly, some good in-ring action, but my main takeaways from Monday Night Raw is there's a few seeds potentially being sowed that I am really curious to see grow. Firstly, we now know the finalists for the King and Queen of the Ring tournaments, as Asuka will now be facing Jade Cargill, and after hitting a mammoth avalanche Cody Cutter to Jey Uso, which was nice, Cody Rhodes will now face Randy Orton on the men's side of things. I actually really like the story that they told during this match, with Cody having to pull out all the stops to beat Jey, and Jey just refusing to say die. And of course, we now get to see the former legacy buddies in Cody and Orton square off at Night of Champions. Moving on. Elsewhere on the show, saw Karrion Kross get in Sami Zayn's ear, telling him that he knew he would never be world champion. Sami responded by introducing Karrion Kross to his fist and then walking away whilst Kross held his mouth. But camera remaining on Kross as Scarlett told him to stop messing around, and he lowered his hand to show that he was currently just pissing himself laughing, having made Sami Zayn break. Look, I'd love to see this as a sign that we might be getting a degree of a push for Karrion Kross going forward. This man absolutely deserves it. He's getting some of the best reactions on shows like Main Event at the moment, and I'm loving this devil's advocate, little stirrer character. Yes, more of Kross, please. Elsewhere, and is it me, or is Gunther slowly turning face? I mean, flashback to a few weeks ago, and we had that little show of respect at the end of his match with Pat McAfee, and this week, he comes out to cut out a typically heel promo, threatening to end Goldberg's career and ruin his perfect retirement, and he was getting cheered. In fact, I'm pretty sure that the moment he threatened to end Goldie's career was actually the biggest pop of the night. Now, I could sit here and analyse that particular reaction, or I could just refer you back to me from 7 days ago. Look, I'm all for Goldberg having this retirement run. He's a legend, he's an attraction. Keep the title off of him. I swear, WWE, I'm still getting flashbacks to Kevin Owens and The Fiend. I've not forgotten. Keep the World Heavyweight title off of Goldberg. Oh, they're going to do it, aren't they? They're going to do it. They would, wouldn't they? They're going to... No. Moving on to Saturday's AEW Collision, and two great segments that stand out particularly for me. Firstly, the big one, when the Don Callis family came out to talk about the upcoming title unification match between Kazuchika Okada and Kenny Omega. 1 week on from Okada hospitalising Omega, it wasn't long before, thankfully, Mark Briscoe came out to interrupt Kenny's former friend Don Callis, claiming that he considers Kenny Omega to be his friend. But he also acknowledged that he isn't Kenny's only friend. And at that point, all is right with the world again, as Kota by God Ibushi came out, levelling members of the Don Callis family before squaring up and trading blows with Kazuchika Okada. Yes, please, can I have seconds? I was already hyped to see Omega and Okada. I never wanted to, quite frankly, pay for the New Japan on-demand service, so I've never actually seen those two lock up outside of grainy online footage. So already looking forward to seeing Omega Okada, but with Kota by God Ibushi involved as well, this is shaping up. I think I'm more excited in AEW than I've been in a very long time. Also on Collision, Tony Storm, who you shouldn't need me to tell you is one of, if not the best thing going on AEW programming at the moment. Tony Storm cutting a brilliant promo on Mercedes Moné, including, and obviously Tony Storm promos are always great, but this one including the immortal line, "I am not some other motherfucker." Talks with Dorks has been unable to reach Mercedes Moné or any of the other motherfuckers for comment. And speaking of Mercedes Moné, in the latest reminder that Father Time is an ever-encroaching bastard and that all of us just need to admit defeat and start taking out our pensions now, cast your minds back to NXT in 2015 and the amazing feud between Sasha Banks and Bayley, which culminated in that all-timer of an Iron Woman match at NXT TakeOver Respect. So you might remember, during that match, which is really awesome by the way, go back and watch it, it's really awesome, Sasha proved that she was history's greatest monster by stealing Bayley's young superfan Izzy's headband and making the little girl cry. Yeah. Now, this isn't exactly new news, but Izzy is now a professional wrestler in her own right. 10 years on, and you can now catch Izzy Moreno on the independent circuit. Still, by the way, very much a Bayley superfan. Just look at that hugger-inspired gear. And she's, by the way, she's pretty damn good at it too. Doing a lot of work right now for TWC in Texas and banging on the door of WWE constantly. All I can say is, watch this space for Izzy Moreno. But of course, the big news this week came from Friday's Smackdown, in a show in which Ron Killings proved that he is still John Cena's superfan by demonstrating that he too can't lock in the STF properly. Of course, all the talk over the weekend has been about Jonathan Felix Anthony Cena. Now, stop me if you've heard this one before. John Cena is in a feud with CM Punk over the WWE Championship. John Cena has a match with R-Truth during that feud. John Cena loses that match to R-Truth. During the altercation afterwards, one of John Cena and CM Punk get put through a table, and then the other of the two sits down and proceeds to cut an industry-shaking pipe bomb promo. Hi Matt Cardona. Hi Claudio Castagnoli. Look, I'm not going to retread this promo too much as there's no way I could possibly do it justice. But, needless to say, if you haven't watched it yet, firstly, can I get the address of the rock that you've been living under? And secondly, what are you still doing here? Go and watch that promo. Cena retreaded all the barbs that CM Punk threw his way nearly 15 years ago during the original pipe bomb in 2011, putting his own twisted little spin on things, including my favourite line, "You're a millionaire despite yourself," throwing all the shade back in CM Punk's direction, throwing all the shade at his anti-establishment persona, calling him a hypocrite, whilst also harping back to Punk's original dig at Vince McMahon during the original pipe bomb promo. Vince is a millionaire who should be a billionaire, and he's going to keep making money despite himself. 10 out of 10, no notes. And that has been the Wrestling Roundup this week. I'll be back next week with more news. And don't forget, you can check out all the updates regarding our own wrestling promotion, TDW. TDW now has its own dedicated YouTube channel and TikTok. And remember, you can watch our first ever live wrestling event, Never Say Die. That's on our Patreon now for just £4, or you can subscribe to our Patreon at the £3 tier, where you get that included, plus full access to plenty of other additional exclusive content. We're looking to make TDW and Talks with Dorks in general bigger and better, and we can only do that with you. Take care.